Just how powerful is Neji Hyuga? This is a character that is criminally underrated. All of the Konoha 12 really drop off and fall off after part 1 of Naruto. Everyone aside from our boy Shikamaru, of course, other than the main cast. But each side character in different ways all get a lack of exposure. Their strength and their power development and their character development just kind of takes a back seat to the rest of the story. And the most prevalent characters that we were like in Naruto, we were like, oh my god, these are like game changers. People like Neji and Rock Lee. These characters stagnate so significantly that when I was asked by a viewer of mine who left in the comments that they wanted to see a video on Neji, I was at a bit of a loss for words when it came to thinking about how to formulate tonight's video. Because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yes, I hadn't even thought about Neji. That is a great character to do a video on. But then I'm like, well, what does he do post-time skip? What does he do in Naruto Shippuden? And where does his strength kind of cap out at? Where is his ceiling? And that is something that we're going to go over in tonight's video. For obvious reasons, most of this content here is going to be based off of part 1 of Naruto. And then we'll see what dregs we can kind of get out of Naruto Shippuden. But Neji is the prodigy of the Hyuga clan, one of the great clans of the Hidden Leaf Village and a rival clan to the Uchiha clan. One of the 3 great dojutsu the Hyuga clan possesses, known as the Byakugan. This is a technique that allows, well, I shouldn't say technique, this is a Kekkei Genkai, which is a visual Kekkei Genkai, which allows the user to not only see through walls and see kilometers away in distance, it also allows people to see the chakra network of their opponents and the internal organs of an opponent. And then in conjunction with the taijutsu style of the Hyuga clan, the gentle fist, they're able to use that to then pierce and shut off an opponent's chakra network, making them incredibly powerful in taijutsu. Even if they don't get the full 8 trigram 64 palm technique off and completely shut down a person's chakra network, even shutting down the chakra network in certain parts of the body is a huge advantage because it encumbers their opponent, it compromises them. We see this in his first fight that he has against his cousin, Hinata Hyuga. A very good fight in terms of the story that it's developing. Not much of a great showing by Hinata. In some ways you can say, because it's like she keeps striving forward, she keeps pushing herself forward, even though she has no hope of beating this insurmountable odd in her cousin Neji. Because despite being from a member of the branch family of the Hyuga clan, the Kekkei Genkai has shown itself to be the greatest and most proficient, and Neji got the lion's share of the just natural talent. We see he trains. He's not just someone who kind of sits back and scoffs at hard work. He's not a noble or a royal from Black Clover who doesn't believe in training. Neji is still the student of Might Guy. He knows how important it is to train and how much that is needed. One of the ways we see this is where he works so hard to eliminate the weakness that comes with the Byakugan. A small kind of cone cylinder sphere at the back of at the nape of the neck where the Byakugan cannot reach. Because the Byakugan can see 360 degrees in all directions other than that one blind spot. And Neji works tirelessly to overcome that. So, to see him have this first fight with Hinata, his cousin, who at one stage he cared for quite deeply, to become so cold-hearted and disheartened to not just the main family, but someone that he cared about before the death of his father, to see the way he brutalized Hinata, to get back to the original point, where Hinata's trying so hard to beat him, but immediately he shuts off the chakra points in her arms, meaning the gentle fist that Hinata is using against Neji is powerless, because the chakra is spreading through her body, but it's not going through her arms, it's not circulating there, meaning she's powerless to attack Neji. The gentle fist is such a deadly and subtle taijutsu because it shuts off a person's chakra network and it causes It allows you to damage the internal organs of an opponent without even breaking the skin. Meaning it's so subtle yet so deadly, and to take that away from Hinata by turning off her chakra points in her arm was diabolical for Neji. We see just how ruthless and just how cruel and cold-hearted he is to the main branch of the family. And he takes that anger out on Hinata because at the end of the day, just this time and this place is the only way he can get that out on her, because they're in the tuning exams. If he did this as any other time, he would be branded a traitor and most likely put to death by hurting the heiress of the great and, noble Hyuga clan. So he kind of takes out all his hatred on her while he can. Now, Neji himself, he does have two showings actually, I should say, before his fight with Hinata. Hinata is the first fight that he gets officially, but we see that in the Forest of Death, he kind of, when he confronts Dosu and, wait for it, I can get it, what was the other one's name, the ones who could shoot out sound waves, Zaku, I believe it was. When he confronts them and he goes, now that you've dealt with the amateurs, are you ready to deal with, the real thing? And he activates his Byakugan, and Dozu immediately, this isn't your typical Genin. He isn't just looking at us, he is seeing through us. And Dosu was very much intimidated and scared to take on Neji, which is important because he had no problem taking on Rock Lee and having kind of the guts to face him. Now, Lee is very unassuming. People don't see him and see this amazing warrior. So it makes more sense why he would be more scared of Neji. But it just goes to further emphasize Rock Lee, Neji's teammate, his own point in the beginning of the Chunin exams, where he says to Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke, this is after, keep in mind, that Rock Lee has just beaten the shit out of Sasuke. Sasuke awakens his Sharingan for the first time in combat and just gets belittled by Rock Lee, just with sheer taijutsu. And he says to the gang, he says, Sasuke, I wasn't entirely honest with you. I lied to you before. The reason why I've entered the Chunin exams is to beat a member of my own team, Neji Hyuga. Because Lee believes Neji to be, without a doubt, the strongest Genin in the Leaf Village at that time. And Kakashi goes and confirms that in the preliminaries of the Chunin exams. After seeing the fight with Neji and Hinata, he goes on to say that as strong as Sasuke is, he is no match for Neji at this time. Now, this is a really interesting thing, it's one of the groundworks, one of the center points of Neji in terms of power scaling him that we need to look at, because there's a few things you can take away here. Kakashi is saying that Sasuke at this level is no match for Neji. He hasn't even seen Neji go all out, meaning that current Sasuke is not just weaker than the Neji that Kakashi is assuming, but even further weaker because Neji, as we know, didn't go all out. Now, I might be getting my manga knowledge confused here, because I've read the Naruto Shippuden, from Shippuden onwards, manga a couple of times, had a couple of read-throughs, but in just pre-Naruto, I've watched it a bunch in the anime, but I haven't reread it in the manga. I know he trains to master the 8 trigrams and the 64 palm technique in the month leading up to the finals of the Chunin exams. But can he utilize it at the prelims? I feel like those are two incredibly powerful techniques he learnt in just a month. They may not have been mastered, but I could definitely see him kind of having the core principles of what to do even in the preliminaries. And that is important. Your take on whether or not he could do it to a basic level at the preliminaries is important, because the next person we really need to compare Neji to, and it's in the preliminaries of the Chunin exams as well, is against Rock Lee. When Rock Lee goes 5th gate and is pounding Gaara into dust, Neji is looking on with his Byakugan activated. Kakashi has put his Sharingan activated because they both know that they're seeing something truly special here with what Lee can do. It's not a Lee video, but we need to hype him up. Just like Kakashi says, this boy is a genius in his own right. To be able to do that through sheer determination, to be able to open the 5th gate as a mere Genin is ridiculous. And not just a Genin, but a kid. Someone who, he's not as old as Guy's father, the eternal Genin. So for him to be able to do that, Kakashi reckons that Lee is a genius. And I think Neji is seeing this and kind of rethinking everything that he's thought, his life creed, about that fate is what decides a person's strength. You are born with it. You do not work at it. While you can improve your skills by working at it, there is a certain tier that you will never be able to reach. And Neji sees where Lee's strength and speed are at in this form. And in my headcanon is that, like, he really kind of can't come to terms with the fact that Lee is just this strong. Because here's a question for you all. Can a 5th Gate Lee in the preliminaries beat a Neji in the preliminaries? And I don't know if Neji could beat Lee in this state. I do think that Neji could probably, if we had our controller up his ass, could probably kind of beat Lee before Lee even went 5th Gate. Because Lee can't just do that immediately. He does need to set it up with the Hidden Lotus to activate that first gate, at least at that time in the series. Meaning Neji might just have enough time to kind of just take Lee out before he can activate it. But from just the feats that we see on screen, I think we have to give it to actually Rock Lee in the preliminaries. Because the reason I say this, Rock Lee also just manhandles Sasuke before the preliminaries. So the way that he could just so belittle Sasuke, and the way Kakashi is kind of hyping Neji up to be so much stronger than Sasuke, it makes me think that Lee can at least contend with him evenly in this state, if not outright beat him. I think the more... And because all we have to go off is Kakashi's word and what he did to Hinata, which is not a good opponent to power scale off because she doesn't have any feats of her own, it makes me want to say that 5th Gate Lee would just beat Neji. But if Neji could utilize the 8 trigrams and the 64 palm technique that he masters in the finals of the Chunin exams, would that be enough to be able to beat that level of Rock Lee? And that's an interesting one, because from what we know of rotation, it defends Neji in a 360-degree radius, and it also bounces back the user's attack kind of onto themselves, meaning the stronger the offense coming at Neji, the stronger the defense will be to defend him. So Lee could have his own strength kind of turned against him in this fight with a 8 trigrams palm rotation, and Neji could also shut off his chakra network. Yes, Rock Lee doesn't use ninjutsu, but he still needs to use chakra to enhance his strength. Meaning Neji could really play around in his body and kind of, from just one slip up, and kind of shut off Lee's whole jutsu. So I would kind of give it to Neji in the finals of the Chunin exams to be stronger than Rock Lee. But I think this is a video in and of itself, a deep dive between who would win out of these two characters. The next fight Neji has is against Naruto, and it's not... The only talking point of this fight, in terms of for Neji specifically, is that it's the fight that allows him to show off the 8 trigrams and the 64 palm technique. Because Naruto is a really broken character for Neji to fight. He is the hard counter to Neji. Because of being the Jinchuriki of Kurama, Naruto can just use the Nine-Tails chakra to reopen his own chakra network, making Neji's offense here totally irrelevant in this fight, meaning Naruto is just such a bad matchup for him that I don't really kind of credit or discredit Neji for this fight. There's not much we can scale him off for kind of being able to beat Naruto down so easily, because this level of Naruto in his base form, and that's important, base form, his only real impressive feat is beating some of the ninja in the Chunin exams, impressing Kabuto, and beating Kiba. It's not like the feats that he did against Haku or Orochimaru, because the level that Naruto is being beaten at by Neji, he hasn't activated Kurama's chakra yet. That comes after, and that's when Naruto is able to kind of force the advantage. But Neji's kind of gets forced to you know, he loses out in the stamina game against Naruto. But Naruto can only get to that level of stamina thanks to Kurama awakening his chakra network. Because he was, if it wasn't for Kurama, regardless of how much stamina Naruto has, he was taken out with that 8 trigram 64 palm technique. He was in range and he got his ass beat there. There was no coming back from that. No amount of talk no jutsu or power or friendship was going to allow him to beat that Neji without any chakra. So I would say that Neji at that time is stronger than Naruto. At finals of the Chunin exams, Naruto. A Naruto that gets mentally amped and then fights Gaara being able to summon the hundreds and hundreds of shadow clones and summon Gamabunta, that's a different beast. And I do think that Naruto would beat Neji. I don't necessarily know he'd be able to beat him with his shadow clones because of just how deadly the Byakugan is in Taijutsu. But Gamabunta, people don't understand what a threat Gamabunta was. He was fighting evenly against the one-tailed Shukaku. He is beating Neji. I don't care how many rotations Neji wants to do. Gamabunta's just going to jump up into the air, liquid bullet barrage down on Neji, and then even just leap back down and crush him with the immense weight that Gamabunta carries. Like, Naruto is winning that fight just through the hands of Gamabunta. So the summoning jutsu is one of the most underrated broken jutsu in Naruto. If I remember to do it, I recently did ranking the top 10 most broken jutsu in Naruto. I suggest going to go check it out. You can see where I might have put it and my thoughts on that technique. But the summoning jutsu for Naruto to master, and to master it so well where he can summon Gamabunta, is just such a win for him that I would give Naruto over Neji. The next and only, and literally, and this is where we go like, oh my god, what happened to our boy? The only other fight that he has in the series, because I'm not counting his confrontation with the Ten Tails and, like, you know, knocking away tails and attacks and stuff like that, because everyone in the Shinobi War does that. But the only other fight he has is against Kidimaru or Kidomaru, something along those lines. I'll probably go back and forth with that, but he's a very interesting member of the Sound Ninja 4, because I actually think he's the strongest one. I know narratively that doesn't make any sense. Tayuya takes on Shikamaru, and Ukon and Sakon take on Kiba. But for me personally, Neji is significantly stronger than Kiba. I don't want to hear it. Even with Kiba's new jutsu, he isn't stronger than Neji. If they were fighting, Neji would take him down pretty easily. I reckon Neji is also taking down Shikamaru. The reason why this is so important, though, is because Kidimaru almost wipes Neji. He almost gets a W and kills our prodigy Hyuga boy here. And it's not just the long distance weakness that Neji has, like that plays a part, but the other Sasuke retrieval arc Genin had similar weaknesses to the other Sound Ninja 4, but the way Kidimaru was able to utilize this weakness of Neji's against him, and the way the fight went where he was so analytical, he kept picking up each kind of weakness that Neji showed, and he utilized that in his formation of his strategy to beat Neji, and then to watch Neji overcome it, and then eventually get in range to hit him with an 8 trigram 64 palm technique, which this one hit the nose on. Oh my god, Jack, it's completely getting away from me. He hit that son of a bitch with all he had and took him out. I'm sorry for the stumble there. It is so hot here. I am sweating like a pig. I had to tie my hair up. I'm sorry if I'm visibly sweating on camera. And it is 11 o'clock at night here. I am tired. This is the second or third go around at this video. I couldn't get it how I liked it. So let's hope we stay on good form here. But that fight was truly, truly impressive. And it really goes to show Neji's intelligence to be able to get around foes that he's so significantly weaker to thanks to the long-range advantage. The long-range advantage, though, that Kidimaru had over Neji is something that we actually get to see that Neji has kind of overcome post-time skip. And this is what I mean. He is not a son, he's a student of Might Guy. He has studied under his tutelage. He knows what it means to train and overcome weaknesses. We see this where Neji has learnt a new Hyuga technique called I believe it's a vacuum wave, where it's kind of just like a palm strike of air, which can then obviously attack people in like a mid-range distance. He also has like the mountain strike, which is an anime-only technique. It's kind of a big fuck-off kind of gentle fist, just palm strike. It looks really, really cool. I said, well, actually, before we get on to that, we also see that Neji from the wiki has three chakra natures. I believe it is fire, water, and earth, which might just hint at the fact that he's gone down an avenue of a non-Hyuga to learn elemental ninjutsu, which could certainly amp his game, and something that I could definitely see him doing. As traditional as Neji is, he isn't so traditional that he's going to allow himself to get stuck into it. If learning elemental ninjutsu is going to help him become stronger, that's what he's going to do. But Neji, I lied before, he does have a fight. I don't call it a fight. He fights with Team Guy against the traps that they take off of the hidden Akatsuki base when Naruto, Kakashi, Sakura, and Shio go in to confront Deidara and Sasori. And he also fights a 30% Kisame clone, which is very, very nebulous to how great of a feat that was, because the clones themselves didn't seem to be going all out either. So even 30%, I struggle to know whether or not Neji would be able to beat 30% of Kisame, because of just how powerful Kisame is. But other than the first arc of post-time skip, where he helps Naruto be kind of the second wind of the mission to help allow Naruto and gang to take on the Akatsuki members, other than that, and other than filler, they only show up in the Fourth Great Shinobi War, where, you know, I'm going to give it to you, I don't think this is a spoiler, it's been out for so long, where he sees and bears witness to his own death. He gets taken out, and it's a very powerful and emotional scene, because you have Naruto and Hinata crying over him. Like I said, he's strong enough to knock away a tail of the 10 tails, which is impressive, but it's impossible to rank that in terms of how strong that makes him, just because so many people do similar things, and these people appear to be weaker than Neji. It is important to note that Neji was the only one out of the Konoha 12 to become a Jonin in the time skip, which is really, really impressive, and it gives us a little area, because it gives us a little area to rank him. It's not much of one, and we'll get into that line of thought in a second, because otherwise there's just no power scaling him post-time skip, which is crazy to think of. The reason why we can scale him slightly, once again, it's not much, is because if he's the only one to become a Jonin, I think it's fair to say that he's by far and away the strongest member of the Konoha 12, even potentially stronger than Sakura herself. Now, of course, we know Naruto would probably be stronger, but other than him, I do think Neji, and Lee, of course, as well, would be the strongest member of the Konoha 12, meaning anything you can scale the Konoha 12 to, you can most likely scale Neji to as well. It's not much, though. It's like, Ino doesn't do anything. Choji is able to do something in the fight with Asuma, but it's not much at all. Shikamaru is certainly a contender and could maybe outsmart Neji thanks to his intelligence, but in terms of power, he's just getting hard stomped as well. Who else do we have in the Konoha 12? Kiba and goddamn Shino do absolutely nothing as well. They're not even worth mentioning. Tenten, his own partner, is just rubbish. So it's really hard to see, just if we scale Neji above the rest of the Konoha 12, where that puts Neji in a power scaling standpoint. It's so nebulous to think of where Neji actually stands. I do think his ceiling was a top Jonin of the Leaf Village. Kind of the most powerful ninja in the village outside of the Kages and outside of Naruto and his close gang, you know, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura type of thing. I do think Neji probably would have just been the strongest one, the strongest ninja outside of them, just off of narrative importance, where he was in part 1, what his clan is, and if he was getting the screen time, what that allowment of screen time meant for his character. I could see him kind of being the strongest one of the Konoha 12 outside of the ones we spoke of, thanks to those reasons. But it's a little bit of this video goes more into just explaining his powers and the feats, the small amount of feats that he has, rather than so much talking about his individual strength, because I mean, I say that outside of the time skip, because there's just really nothing to go off, which is so frustrating. In the making of this video, I decided that I'm going to do one in the future talking more in depthly about how the Konoha 12 might be the biggest flop in all of anime, of just what they did to these characters is truly like awful. Naruto is my first love. This isn't me shitting on the series as a whole, but the Konoha 12 really don't get any love. And then when one of them does get love, it's goddamn Sai, who isn't even an official member of the Konoha 12. So it's like, I feel like Kishimoto didn't need to start introducing these new characters like Sai, and could have maybe just brought up some of the Konoha 12 out of the woodwork and into the frying pan, essentially, to see just what they would do. Would they burn, or would they jump their ass out and become someone? So that's where I kind of want to leave it. I think that he's weaker than a Naruto versus Gaara Naruto, and then Neji in prelim is weaker than Rock Lee in prelim, but finals tuning exams Neji is probably stronger than Rock Lee from the prelims, stronger than Naruto from the prelims. In terms of Sasuke, that I guess will be our last talking point. Do I think that Sasuke Uchiha could have beat Neji in the finals of the tuning exams? Obviously, narrative has a lot to play here, and I could definitely see the reasons why people would think that Sasuke would kind of just beat Neji. But it is really kind of just impossible to say. I would probably give it to Neji still. Neji has fought with Rock Lee for years, meaning he's used to Sasuke's speed. There was no, I don't believe it was ever mentioned, unless it was in a data book, Sasuke isn't confirmed at that stage in the story to be faster than Lee. He just brings his speed up to be on par with Rock Lee. Meaning that if Neji could counter the Chidori thanks to his rotation, which I don't see why he couldn't do that, then he leaves Sasuke open to face an 8 trigram 64 palm technique. And while Sasuke's speed has increased, because Rock Lee is Neji's partner, he's been sparring and training with him most likely every day. Meaning he's well aware of Rock Lee's weaknesses and strengths, and could play that card and make it easier for himself to win, type of thing. So I would give it to Neji to be the one beating Sasuke there. It would be an interesting fight. Curse Mark 2 wouldn't do Sasuke any help, because it would just be making him lose quicker. But I do reckon Neji probably does beat Sasuke. I reckon it goes out in the village, Naruto with Gamabunta, then to Neji, fully completed, finalized tuning exams, then to probably, you see, Rock Lee in 5th gate versus Sasuke in Chidori is interesting. I'd probably give it to Sasuke still, though. Then our boy Rock Lee, I think, would get it next. But hey, if Rock Lee was going drunken style, would this fight have been different? Would he have been able to come in and just completely sweep good old Neji? But, you know, who knows? Let me know down in the comments where you guys scale him. I do, like I said, it was just off narrative where I think he probably would have been placed, just with how fast he was growing and the positions that he was in. I could definitely see him going to that level of authority and maybe being an advisor to Naruto himself in Boruto. But guys, I've been Jack Cypher. I am falling asleep as I make this video, so hopefully it's decent enough quality. But everyone, have a lovely night.